Hello, this is Father Michael Nasser coming to you from St. Nicholas Orthodox Church here in Grand Rapids, Michigan for this week's Midweek Reflection. And this week I am reflecting on a topic I started focusing on Sunday in the homily. I was talking about how we as Christians need to not just be adding into division, but be part of the unifying work of God in the world. And one of the things I really couldn't talk about that day is that part of what's fueling this division is that we have more and more sort of separated environments where we live in what people often call echo chambers. People are often only hearing perspectives that match their own or are close to their own. And it makes it hard to see other people accurately, and then hence we have more division. But actually I want to take this in a little bit different direction because I think that's an important thing. But I want to focus on what the blessing is of having other perspectives. And why I'm thinking about this week is that yesterday, His Eminence Metropolitan SABA just arrived here in West Michigan. I got to enjoy some time with him. Actually, on Monday, we went to Detroit for our deanery meeting. And then last night, we met up at the hotel, had dinner together. And he's so refreshing in so many ways because he's coming to us with perspectives that are very different from where most of us happen to be seeing ourselves or seeing the world. One of the things that's obvious is that he's not an American. He didn't grow up in this country. He grew up in the country of Syria, where he was a clergyman. He was educated in Lebanon and a clergyman, and eventually a bishop in Syria for many years. And so he comes to us without American blind spots. And while some people are going to be challenged by that, I think it's a wonderful thing that he's coming to our American Archdiocese without the blind spots of what we often can't see. We can't see it because we hear from people that share our perspective, and he has a different one. And I think people are going to be very, very blessed if they're open to hearing about somebody who comes to us from a different perspective. And I think he brings a much more long-standing, in some ways an ancient point of view. You know, America, we're celebrating several hundred years. Syria, they're celebrating several thousand years of consistent history. I mean, Damascus, Syria is the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. So there's a whole different perspective on things when you have a culture that's not just different, but ancient as that one is. So that's one way I think St. Saba brings us a different perspective. Another is that the archdiocese that he governed for those many years is the poorest in the entire Patriarchate of Antioch. The Archdiocese of Haran is the poorest. And so he comes to us having lived among some of the deepest poverty in the Middle East, and he's coming to one of the richest, if not the richest country in the world, where we, even the poorest of us, live relatively rich lives, therefore have perspectives that are very much influenced by a perspective of wealth. And so he brings that difference, and he helps us see, things that we don't see, again, with our American modern blind spots. He's going to be bringing a different perspective, which, again, I think is a blessing. Another unique perspective is he's a very deep thinker. He thinks deeply, he thinks theologically. And he thinks theologically, as all good Orthodox theologians do, because he's a man of prayer. And I think it becomes apparent to everyone when they meet him, is this is not a man who's business-minded. He's very well-versed in the ideas and concepts and how business works, but he's rooted primarily in a theological vision that's rooted in prayer. So that's a whole different perspective than many of us are, unfortunately, that we're not all that familiar with. So he brings that different perspective. Therefore, he opens to us what in many ways would be blind spots on our part. And lastly, he's a bishop. There are so many professions that have millions of people that do it around the world, sometimes tens of millions or hundreds of millions. And in this world of I don't know how many billion people we have now, there are only several thousand Orthodox bishops. And imagine what perspective he has, not just from being in the position. It's not just a job. It's a God-blessed and God-guided institution that is the main way that the continuity of Christianity has been carried from the time of Christ until now. So I think as we in West Michigan are looking forward to celebrating time with His Eminence this week, I think one of the things we're going to be blessed with is the fact that he's a man of very different perspectives, very different background, And I think if we're open to it, we're going to be challenged in ways that are different from other bishops we've had, other voices we hear among ourselves, because of all these different perspectives he brings. And I think that's a great blessing, opening us areas that we were blind to. That's what a blind spot is. We don't see it because we have our own perspective. And so I think Satan is going to bless us in many ways and maybe challenge us in many ways because he comes from these different perspectives. So I hope we will learn from him this week. I also think that in general, if we can open up ourselves to people from different perspectives, different backgrounds, even if we don't agree with them, it helps us understand at least how they're seeing things. And I think that's a great thing that we need more and more, especially in today's divided culture. So I hope you'll open up, learn from others, listen, at least understand. You may not agree, but at least understand and do our part to bring more unity into this world. So I hope you found this helpful. If so, please share it with friends, relatives, whoever you'd like. And God willing, we'll see you in next week's video.